We are ready.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to the North Bend City Council regular session agenda, Tuesday, July 25th, 2023 here in the council chambers. Could I please ask our Assistant Fire Chief Waddington, whose birthday it is today, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? You don't have to sing it.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, actually, I do wish you a sincere happy birthday. And we'll go ahead and begin with the, after I call the meeting to order, I just want to make sure I say welcome to everybody who is here in person. And of course, anybody who is also listening online, live, or at a later date. So welcome. Thank you for being here. The next item on the agenda is our consent calendar. Did we have a motion?
I'd like to move that we accept the consent calendar as presented.
Okay, first from Councilor Gall, a second from Councilor Jones. Any discussion? All in favor of accepting the consent calendar as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I do believe we have a business owner here that was looking to see if their item in the consent calendar was accepted, and it was. All right, so congratulations on your business, and we're happy that you're there.
Perfect.
He's the owner of the miniature golf place. I think the one was small. Yeah, so good luck on that.
Yes, good luck.
Number 3 item tonight is we have public comment. I see our city recorder has provided me with several that are in person and a couple online. I will go ahead and start with the online. The ones here, I believe I have 2, and I have one from Natalie Ranker. So before I begin, I'll read you what I always tell the same for people who are in person or online, but we want to just say thank you for participating in public comment this evening. The public comment period is an essential part of local government meetings. Each person has 3 minutes to speak. So that's whether you're here in person or if I'm reading them or if you're online. Our governing body takes input into consideration. However, in observance of Oregon open meeting laws, this isn't a time for dialogue, but rather a time for us to listen to you. Our city administrator and city recorder are taking any notes of any action as needed. So to the city recorder, could you please start the timer when I begin reading? Okay. First public comment is from Natalie Ranker on Simpson Avenue in North Bend. And it says, I am concerned about the brush removal set to take place from the walking trail at Pittem Loop west of the Bluff drop-off. After walking around Simpson Park near the tennis courts down to Mead Avenue, I feel my concerns are for good reason. That area was brush hogged 2 years ago, and to this day, it still resembles a huge slash pile. You have great difficulty walking over the ground due to the huge and deep furrows and the remains of the trees and shrubs cut down by the machinery. This area of the park used to have a trail going through it, but now due to the slash and furrows, it is difficult to navigate, and it appears to be used very rarely. So we have lost a portion of Simpson Park. Thus, my concerns for Pittem Loop area are growing. The vegetation there is much thicker and the trees are much larger and much closer together. I cannot even imagine how a masticator can be operated there without doing great damage to the trunks of the huge trees. Also, if they have the huge furrows and slash that was left at Simpson Park near the tennis courts, it'll be an incredible, ugly area. I believe there was a bid to remove the underbrush by hand, which was far more expensive, but at least it would not have damaged the massive trees. By its name, it appears that a masticator grinds up slash, so maybe it will be in small pieces that can be spread. If the ground can be leveled, that may be okay. But this work will have to be carefully overseen. This observation is also needed to protect the trees from damage by the machinery. Also, the masticator may grind up the ivy on the ground, but what about the massive strands of ivy growing on the trees? Is there a plan to remove all of this? Because without doing that, the trees may very well be choked by the ivy growing on them and lost in years to come. Alas, this project would have to be repeated in years to come to inhibit the growth of invasive species. I would request that council might take more time to come up with a better method of clearing this area. It seems that a combination of the masticator and the hand removal would be more effective and perhaps should be considered. We need to protect that amazing stand of trees that greets all of us well as visitors that cross the McCullough Bridge coming into town. Respectfully submitted, Natalie Rinker. Okay. All right. The next public comment that was sent in to read into the record is from Tracy Knight. And this says, and thank you for beginning the time again. Hi, my name is Tracy Knight. I live in North Bend on a street that prior to the camping resolution consistently had multiple RVs and vehicles staying directly outside of my house. And Tracy lives over on Commercial. I am not without empathy for those experiencing homelessness. However, what I and my family experienced was that the majority of the RVs on my street had no regard or common courtesy for the homes they were parked next to. We were regularly kept awake at night by yelling, fighting, door slamming, vehicles and foot traffic coming and going, and much more. The sleep deprivation really affected my family. My child has epilepsy, and sleep deprivation is a seizure trigger for her. I got to the point where we dreaded hearing the RVs pulling up, knowing that what it probably meant losing a few days sleep. After 2+ years of this, it really affected our health and well-being. Since the ordinance began on July 1st, I can't even begin to explain how improved our quality of life has been. It's quiet at night, and we can actually sleep again. Recently, I've seen some complaints regarding the designated sleep areas. While I do understand the concerns of what people are afraid could happen, I ask them to try to comprehend what those of us have been dealing with for years in residential areas. I know there is no perfect solution, but to me, common sense says having the sleep sites contained to commercial areas after hours in close proximity to the police department just makes so much sense. I've already noticed that most of the known problem RVs and vehicles have moved out of North Bend since July 1st. This is a win for North Bend residents and police, in my opinion. I know the city council, mayor, police, and city staff didn't have an easy solution, and the decisions weren't made lightly. But in less than a month of having the resolution in place, I only noticed positive results. So I want to thank you for your work in creating and passing the ordinance and resolution. You have no idea what a difference it's made for my family and so many neighbors. Thank you, Tracy Knight. Okay. Very nice letter. Okay, those were the only 2 submitted. And now I have 3 in person. And Mr. Dana,
What do I do?
come on, please come on forward and we'll show you a chair here. The round circular items are speakers. I think they pick up pretty well, don't they? It's not, you don't have to be too sensitive of how close they are. So welcome to public comment. As I stated at the beginning, each person or the amount that I read is for 3 minutes. It's not a time for us to engage with you, but rather a time for us to listen to you. So whenever you're ready, we'd love to hear from you.
Okay. I arrived in North Bend in 1974 and ended up in the little house behind Cutlip's Ice Cream, it was a 2-story Victorian with a daylight basement. I set up a wood shop in the daylight basement, spent 5 or 6 years there. During that period of time, I probably spent 5 or 6, sometimes 7 days a week driving to Horsefall Beach and running on the beach. And I'll never forget coming back across the North Bend Bridge all those times and just coming down into town, or before you get to town in Simpson Park, what Simpson Park was like, what a jewel. I knew that at the time. And, you know, that's why I'm here tonight. It's because of that jewel. And, you know, interesting, I recall in those early years, 1974, I don't recall seeing any English ivy in Simpson Park. None. There could have been, but it wasn't visible. And any rate, I want to talk about that and the process that's going on to remediate that. And I know that the city got what, $250,000 from a grant for the fire protection over a period of time, and that Patrick Meyer's bid was 2.5 times, I think, roughly as much as the other one that the council awarded to. And as a builder, I've been around a lot of equipment for a lot of years and, they do amazing amount of work. And, but I've also seen the rough edges of that. And I do prefer hand labor and would like to see that in our community. Whether it's 2.5 times as much or whatever, makes me think of the Egyptian theater. And back in those days, not too long ago, when they were talking about doing something, and one of the options was getting rid of it. And thankfully, there were enough people that saw better and decided to put more money into it and save the place. And that's certainly a jewel for the city of Coos Bay, and by extension, North Bend also. It attracts people from all over. So I think the extra money spent with hands-on is a somewhat of a good approach, beginnings of a good approach for community involvement in that particular place, because Simpson Park isn't going to be finished. It's not going to be finished, period. I don't know what that park is in Northwest Portland, but there's a community effort backed by the city government too, somewhat. They've been working on the English ivy in that park for years. And any rate, something else that comes to mind, and I hope some of the sustainable design assessment team, anybody remember that or took part in this about 10 years ago? And out at 3 days out at the college of the most incredible public input that I've ever been involved with here in Coos County.
And if you have further information and want to email that to our city administrator, we can definitely pass it along to the council and then also to our Parks Department.
I've never sent an email or received
Okay.
one.
You can visit him in person if you like.
That's my preferred method.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Is time up?
Yeah. thank
No,
you.
that's too
Yes,
bad.
but if you have further thoughts and want to reach
Yeah, I
out.
do, but I mean, that was the gist of what I really wanted to say. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate you coming
Hey,
in.
I didn't see an agenda out in the hallway. Is there
Do we have an
an
agenda here?
agenda somewhere?
All right.
I drive back to Camp Myrtlewood. I live at Camp Myrtlewood in the summertime because it's the building season. In the wintertime, I live at 1506 Monroe Street. And I've been taking the ivy out of that gigantic fir tree down there for the last 20 years at least. In the beginning at the top,
Oh.
there's no ivy in it anymore. Thank you.
All right, our next public comment is Andrew Brainerd. Andrew, come on down. Hey, good evening, Mr. Brainerd. How are you?
Madam Mayor, doing great. Good evening, council and staff. I'm going to put on my commissioner hat for the airport tonight
Great.
and want to share some information that the council and those that live in the city of North Bend might have interests. As most of you know, currently with the airport, we are looking at forming a parks committee. And with the Parks Committee, some of the things that we're taking a look at is the one at Airport Heights Park regarding the playground upgrades, the ball fields upgrades, and the volleyball court as well. I will be representing one of the main members for the committee. And there is an application that you can fill out online and then send it to Stephanie Kilmer, who works for us at the airport. It's Stephanie at flyoth.com. And then also, if you check out the website or have questions afterwards, let me know and I can show you the link. I think it'd be a great opportunity that since it's in the city of North Bend, and that I would like to be very transparent with our city of North Bend as well of what's going on so you can be involved. So if you have any questions, feel free to talk to me afterwards, and I appreciate your time this evening. So thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Commissioner Brainerd. All right. And we have one more public comment in person, and that is Major David Kaufman from the Salvation Army. Major, come on forward. So good to see you this evening.
Good evening.
All
Good to see
right.
you all.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share with you quickly about all the work going on at the Salvation Army.
Yes.
I'm represented by some members of my board behind me and some members of our church as well. I wanted to share with you, starting off what we do first, most known for food boxes. We're serving 100 food boxes a week. We're also entertaining young people to the tune of 80 people every day in our after-school program, serves K through 12. We're doing workforce development at our thrift store and our community center, and we're working with a local agency, AYA, to start doing teen employment and job skill readiness. We're also doing firewood for the community. And I was speaking with Councilor Gull earlier about the gym. The gym caved in 2019. It took 2.5 years to repair, and it was reestablished for the community in October 2022. It's open now. We're doing open gym for children, mostly in the afternoons right now. It's going to come online more and more as we integrate more programs. We're working with Coos Health and Wellness to maybe start doing programming for seniors in the afternoons. But one important development I wanted to share with you is we're probably going to open it for warming services in the winter time for those experiencing homelessness. That's going to start in the fall. The weather, I want to say, is 36 degrees, below 36 and below. We will open our gym for services. We're going to partner with the Devereaux Center and start providing those services. Some other things we're working on is we have 2.5 acres in the back of our property that's untouched. It's pristine forest. It's just trees and vegetation. We're going to look at that to see if we can put housing on that as well. And then we're designated emergency site if something happens in this area. So we're bolstering our stock of items that we need. We're going to have cots on hand. We're going to have blankets on hand. We're going to have emergency supplies. We're bolstering our food supplies. We currently give out 100 food boxes a week, but we're going to need more if something happens. We're going to have a stockpile of food as well. Those are things that are going on at Salvation Army. I have my business card here. I'll leave them with Mr. Milliron. But I just wanted you to know what's going on down there, and we appreciate all you do for us and our community. I live in North Bend, by the way. God bless you all.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, that was Major Kaufman, and that ends then. That was the last of our public comment this evening. Number 4 on the agenda tonight is Resolution 338, establishing a special events committee. Is there a motion from the council?
Let's see, this is a special kind of motion.
I motion to approve resolution 3338, establishing a special events committee.
Okay, I heard a first from Councilor Schultz, a second from Councilor Garboden. Is there any discussion? Okay. All in favor of resolution 3338, establishing a special events committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 5 on the agenda is authorization to contract with Eurofins Testing Northwest for full, is that effluent toxicity tests? And this was on page 27 of your packet during the work session. Is there a motion from the council?
I move to authorize the staff to contract with Eurofins Testing Northwest for the whole effluent toxicity testing in the amount of $7,932.50.
Okay, I heard first from Councilor Jones, a second from Councilor Gall. Is there any discussion? All in favor of the council just authorize staff to contract with Eurofins Testing Northwest for whole effluent toxicity testing in the amount of $7,932.50. Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That would take us to number 6 on the agenda, and this is an authorization to pay Kuntz Machine to repair to the rag compactor. This was on page 29 of your packet and gone over during the work session last night. Is there a motion from the council?
I'll make a motion to pay Kuntz Machine for repair of the rag compact for $5,039.60.
Okay. First from Councilor Hamilton, second from Councilor Garboden. Any discussion? All in favor for the council to authorize to pay Kuntz Machine for the repair of the repair in the amount of $5,039.60. Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. There is no action for number 7. There's no action in any resulting from executive session. So there's nothing for number 7. Number 8 takes us to the city administrator's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. A copy of the city administrator's report is posted on our website. It's also linked on our social media site. And for those that are signed up for eBlast, it automatically goes out nightly. A couple of things I do want to highlight. We did hear from Senator Merkley's office on Tuesday that North Bend has made it into the 2024 Senate funding bill for the annex property. I think it was Councilman Garbodin that as he had supported the hiring of a outside consultant to help with this project, had asked what was my sort of thought process or belief that we would get funded. And I said extremely high. And so both Merkley and Wyden's office have gotten into the Senate funding bill. And short of a government shutdown, that's $4 million for the annex property. So I appreciate the support that came along with that. It's been a long road. We still have a lot of work ahead of us. But this signals that there'll be $4 million in the federal fiscal year 24 budget. So what does that mean? Not going to get torn down 23. It won't get torn down 24. We anticipate that the project will be calendar year 25 that'll get demolished and built. There's a lot of things that go into play. It will take, we have to wait to the federal fiscal year before they'll even start working on a contract. And so very much like we have a public works project that was funded at the federal level in 21, we're just now getting ready to put all that out to bid. So I just want to set the expectations when the public asks you, why is it still there? We'll give them 4 million reasons.
So may I ask a question?
Yes.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, we have, when we get the go for federal funding or stuff like this, there's still a long tail to like a long period of time, of which we have to set up stuff in order to spend it, but we also don't have to worry about spending it immediately.
That's correct.
Right.
We'll actually have a 2-year cycle that once contract signed to actually execute. And
Oh, terrific.
yes.
Yeah.
And we, in order to secure it, we actually had to do a mammoth amount of work. We had to go out and actually put together the cost structure to have it demolished, have it built, to work with contractors, submit all of that. We went through the brownfield phase 1, phase 2 inspections. We still have to get through SHPO, which is the State Historic Preservation Office. Now that we know the money's coming, it's why we put some money into professional services this year in order to get that done for us. We also plan to have a RFP written that will do a salvage contract and start that process. And so you'll see things happening in anticipation of that. You'll also then start to see a lot of staff work with other outside entities and conversations with the state, which will be a strategic partner in this project. So
Is the 4 million something that has a specific short set of must be used for, or is it this project that we know is the annex project?
so specifically, it is to transform that property into affordable housing for critical workers in education, public safety, logistics, and healthcare. What we did is when we looked at all of our housing, we knew that, and we had heard from our stakeholders, many of whom had given letters of support that said, we cannot hire people because we do not have
Yes.
housing.
Yes.
And so we went to bat at the Senate level to say, this is the most critical need for us right now. Do we need other forms of housing? Absolutely. But this city has almost lost police officers, for instance, because we don't have housing. And so we'll be able to designate, make sure that folks have housing and then can transition as houses become available when they become available.
That's true.
But that is written right into the bill. So again, reiterating critical workers in education, public safety, logistics, and healthcare. Logistics was written specifically because if the container ship project is funded in any of the 5 tranches of the mega grant, those are logistics. And so that was a key thing that the mayor and I advocated when we sat down with our legislators.
That's terrific. Thank you.
On the side of the fire department, they have a fire engine design committee. 2 of, in fact, our birthday boy over here, our assistant chief, and engineer EMT Rector went to Florida and immersed themselves in the brand new fire truck that we'll be receiving. They then actually have to train the rest of the battalion in that. So if they look a little tan, it's because they were down in Manatee, Florida, because they spent a lot of time outside with that truck learning how to use it. And so nobody took me up on my offer to go to Florida, hop in the truck and drive it cross country and break it in and blog about it the whole way. And so I'm very disappointed by that.
I said I'd go.
Nobody invited us.
I know, but I need the chief's approval and I didn't get it. And so he went to Alaska. But there's actually plenty of sleeping room in behind. So, but in all seriousness, they have to break in the truck. So they are transporting the truck. So it is getting driven cross country. It doesn't come on a ship. And so, 63, they're going to break that sucker in. So, yeah. And as I told the chief, well, who would ever pull over a fire truck anyway? We could potentially be the first, but that's a whole nother issue. But that's not happening. We did hire utilizing the capacity grant at the fire department. So Jordan Osborne is our full-time North Bend Fire Department employee. Keep in mind, when I first got here in October of 2020, we had a department that hadn't had a single opening in like 15 years.
Wow.
And so, you know, we're getting some new firefighters as folks are retiring. So, as we're backstaffing. So that's actually pretty positive. On the police side, after 26 years of service, Patrol Officer Brent Gaither has decided to retire. And so police and fire had a huge association party Saturday night. I'm hearing rumors that the fire department gave him a walker, but I do not have that confirmed.
A walker.
A walker.
That's great.
Yes. But Officer Gaither will be at the next council meeting, so the council can officially say their goodbyes, and we have a nice platform among other things. Speaking of retirees, former park superintendent who was actually over at the vent tent helping us this afternoon, getting ready for Friday's concert. He'll be coming back and actually working with us to paint and spruce up the boat at Flag Island. Obviously, there's the new welcome sign. And so when you put something really, really nice, the rest looks a little dated. So he's going to get that all nicely painted and get the lighting working. And so, and that's on Flag Island at the south entrance of the city. And then this morning, I met with the new airport executive director, Roger Craddock. You may recall he was the city manager, longtime city manager at Coos Bay. We are collaboratively working, both cities, the city and the airport, which brings a smile on my face, are working together. Boy, that was a little emotional. On historical title issues that have been plaguing us for almost 2 years. We have one of the largest private economic development investments riding on this cooperation. We have never gotten this from the city in many years. And so it's a new page, new day at the airport. And they are going to work with us Really glad to have Andrew Brainerd, who's also with the Confederated Tribes on the board. But collectively, it's a new day in North Bend, and we've got a lot to celebrate. So that, Madam Mayor, Council concludes my city administrator's report.
Okay. Any committee reports? I know that, in fact, I might actually ask Andrew Brainerd from, to come forward. So for the city administrator and I sit on the, committee for House Bill 4123. And, Andrew, if you want to give us a quick update and remind everybody of some of the, our committee report on this, you have a meeting coming up on, the next one is for tribal, you're grouped together,
Yes.
individual stakeholders. So the next one is for tribal, veterans, and city-based organizations. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's going to be held on Thursday. It's with our, like you said, with our tribes, our veterans in the area. We have representatives from each stakeholder for that. And we have a representative from Coos Bay, North Bend, and Coos County that are partaking in those meetings. It's small groups to discuss the strategic plan and visions of ideas that they have currently. One of the things that we're currently working on is a program that would allow access for nonprofits, city officials, and faith-based organizations to partake in recording information of current homeless people, what they're in need of, who's helped who, pretty much kind of scenario, and to help bring in some data as well. And then another thing that we are looking at, we have looked at, is with pets. A lot of our people that are homeless have pets with them. They're very comfort to them, and a lot of them, it's hard for them to let go of their pet, even to see if they can get services, especially in a lot of our nonprofits. And so that's going to be another upcoming discussion of different plans of how we can work together to make sure that they feel that, they're not losing their pet, and that we're going to take care of their pet while they try to improve their lives of getting them some help. So that's kind of a little short summary of kind of what I'd be looking at. So,
and on the Thursday meeting, that meeting is recorded. It's available if people can't attend during the daytime. And then it's also, is there room for public to attend as well? You're having it's at the Newmark Center. Is that just a private meeting for the stakeholders?
this is a private meeting with the
Okay.
stakeholders only. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But we do have a monthly meeting, and it's always the third Wednesday of the month, and it is always open to the public. And
Okay.
we always submit that to those within the press and within the county and both cities. So
Okay. So the next one for the public to attend would be the third Thursday of the month. Thank you.
Third
Third Wednesday of the month.
Yeah.
So in August, there's lots of Wednesdays in August.
we have
That.
we have our own website too. If you look up Coos County homeless, you probably find that in the Google spot. I have a website there with certain information. And then, like I said, we always record our meetings as well for our meeting with the public. So for those that want to know more information, or if you ever have questions, you feel free to email me as well. And we'll get back to you as soon as possible. So,
Okay.
but yes,
All right. Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Moving on from committee reports, we've got council comments. So Councilor Gall.
Well, it was pretty exciting. Last week, North Bend had a team football camp, and it was actually full-blown pads against 4 other schools that came to North Bend and their families and stayed here for 4 days. And it was pretty exciting to think about people actually hitting and having a good time playing football. So I want to kind of go on to David's statement and Andrew's a little bit. For the longest time, it seems like we've been shirts and skins with the airport district, and meaning we, in my opinion, weren't getting along. And I think there's efforts even as tonight that's going to show that maybe that is for the change, and it's going to definitely be better. We've got different board members and we've got different management team. I think it's gonna be good for North Bend. I think David's right. I think it's gonna be good. So that's all I got.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Counselor Schultz,
No comment.
no comment? Counselor Nordhoff.
I do have comments, yes. And apologies for if I can offend anyone, but these are relevant to last night's meeting and 2 weeks ago. So I'll just read my comment. Yesterday, I brought the invisible North Bend Parks Committee to the agenda. Mayor Engelke immediately gave the floor to the city administrator, who gave the committee's history, and he got it wrong. It had been a board, not a commission. My remarks were relegated to second place. Mayor Engelke manipulated my agenda item. Hands off my agenda items, Mayor Engelke. Council declined to make any changes to the operation of the Parks Committee, which does not meet unless there's something referred by the city council. The last opportunity was a memorial bench policy. Nope, no way. I have 3 comments for Mr. Milliron and Mayor Engelke on the council's July 11th meeting. First, the consent calendar is for matters that do not need discussion, such as paying the bills. Contract for approximately 8 acres of understory removal in Simpson Park should never ever have been on the consent calendar. This is the second time this has been tried recently. The first was an unspecified appointment to an unspecified board, commission, or committee. Second, during February's Bay Area Beautification Work Party in Ferry Road Park, volunteer Jim Balins confirmed to me that Mr. Milliron and Mayor Engelke told him that the pit and loop understory would be completely removed and the city was in search of grant funding. So the plan was there since February, but had never been discussed in any work session. I did not appreciate learning of significant projects during the review of the next day's meeting agenda. Do not treat me like a rubber stamp. Third, on July 11th, we had one person give public comment against the understory removal. After he left the meeting, Mr. Milliron told the council, you only had one person speak against the plan tonight, and he got a call from a counselor. Mr. Milliron, it is not your job to pan over our public comment. I just think it's unethical to do that. These several matters are linked. The Dormant Parks Committee hasn't met since September of 2021, the understory removal, and the potential to declare park property such as the visitor center that's going to be torn down as surplus property that could become future housing sites. It is without a doubt convenient to disregard a dormant parks committee when making major changes to our parks. It could happen, but that really would require a rubber stamp council. That concludes my comment. Thank you.
Counselor Hamilton, any comments this evening?
Just that I attended the wine walk on Friday and noticed like the new businesses I didn't know about. So that was pretty amazing to go around and see everybody having a good time and enjoyed seeing some of the new businesses I hadn't been in before. I didn't realize there was a bake shop there. It was so good. So I go in the store right across the street and pay attention. So that's all I got.
Okay, all right. Nothing from Counselor Garbodin. Counselor Jones.
Yeah, I just, so the more that I learn, each time we come to this, I learn more of the layers of how different jurisdictions, law levels interact with one another. And it's an amazing system. And it also makes me deeply appreciate how transparent the staffers are with our questions. And I've only worked in business, and there's a certain level where you just don't get information if you ask the wrong questions, and that just doesn't happen here. So I really appreciate that. And then I want to say to my fellow counselors, I appreciate you taking the time to let me go over my 15 minutes of concerns about the events committee, because in knowing all these layers and how they interact, I don't relish adding any code, right? I don't relish adding new layers of law. So I felt like I wanted to see if we were on the same page. And I appreciate that time and consideration that you all gave me. So thank you.
right, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, speaking of the events committee, I am really happy that that was established by resolution. And we'll work with the city administrator to find out the process for the application, because there will probably be an application that we'll try to get going on that really quickly so that Councilor Hamilton and I can start getting some information to bring back to all of you. So I think this is a really good start, and I look forward to working with our new counselor and seeing what we can bring back to you at the purpose of that committee. So I'm excited about that. And, you know, Waddington, you have the best smile. And I just have to tell you that happy birthday to one of the smiliest guys. I mean, look at this guy, like just the nicest person. And like that just transcends over the whole fire department. I don't think I've met a grumpy fireman that we have. You guys are all great. So I appreciate
Exercise during the day with
Yes.
practice everything, so they're just in better shape than the rest of us. So
I appreciate you. We all appreciate you. We appreciate the things that you do daily. So happy birthday. I am too really excited. Congratulations to Roger Craddock. Like, what a win for the community. Just so happy about this. So great things. Maybe the airport, Andrew Brainerd, Commissioner Brainerd, wants to be a part of some festivities in North Bend. Like I can see all the things happening right now. So stay tuned.
Remember the old air show?
Though we have the air show. See, Gall and I have been around long enough that there was an air show at one time. And there was also a ping pong ball drop. Who remembers the ping pong drop? Are you that old, Waddington? You remember it if I do. Ping pongs fell from the air over the North Bend or over the Pony Village Mall.
What?
And I don't know, was it a Coast Guard helicopter, you think? Dropped ping pong balls. My sister got one. It said $250 at the Emporium. I've asked, apparently they don't do ping pong drops anymore. There's some liability issues, but let me tell you, in 1982, whatever that happened, it was
Wild West.
really fun. Ping pong balls dropped in there. So that was really cool. So that's fantastic. So other things that I want to make sure that I mention is that, because again, I'm really hoping there's 10,000 people online watching this meeting tonight, because I want to reach every single person out there and try to continue to inform them about the House bills that contributed to the decisions that we had to make for the sleep sites that we have here in North Bend. And I think it was mentioned last night, maybe by the chief, that said, you know, it's not perfect. But we are in a lot better of a position than we were a year ago. And I believe that to be true. We had said as a council that we would get through July and then look at everything again in August. There was discussion last night that, again, how else can we reach people? So putting some information to at least a website on the water bill. Please help me get the word about that. That's where we can direct people for resources of understanding what's going on. And then also, we just, so I can announce it one more time, we decided at town hall, correct, on the 15th is the council meeting. No, the 8th and the 22nd.
5 to 6 p.m. at the library.
So August 8th, from 5 to 6 p.m. at the library will be a chance for residents to come in, and we'll figure out a way to give out some information and then have some time for a public comment before we come over to the council meeting. So, you know, we're only 25 days into this. So I do continue, like tonight, hearing from the citizen that lives over on Commercial Street was great to hear that the residential area is very happy. But we also have heard from businesses. So we need to make sure that we get all the input too. So, all right, that was the end of my, happy anniversary to my husband and I tomorrow, 21 years. Yes, so short twin, yeah. So our marriage is old enough to drink now.
How good his smile was.
That's right. Ow. I'll make sure I get him. I'll make sure. Yes. So that was number 10 for city council comments. Number 11 is other business. I'm looking at Ralph, nothing.
Madam Mayor, I emailed the council.
Yes.
So if you've got it in front of you, if not, let me know. I've got it here for you.
Okay, so I do have one item for other business. Sorry, Ralph, throwing you under the bus. And this is, maybe I'll actually ask the city administrator to kind of walk us through here. There wasn't an email sent out later this afternoon, but it's the airport district seeks applications for, no, that's not it.
No, it's the trash.
So the The Coquille Indian Tribe has asked for a letter of support
I
from
don't-
the
Just
council.
like- Okay.
This is for the tribe's Transportation and Growth Management Program grant through ODOT. They apologize. They only got their approval on Friday and asked if we would very quickly turn around a letter. And so the request came in about 4:02 yesterday when I was in a meeting right before the council meeting, so I didn't see it. So I've shared it, but it says the letter goes to the Transportation Growth Management Program. It says, I want to personally offer my support for the TGM grant for the Coquille Indian Tribe recently submitted. If funded, this project will support the utilization of funds from the integrated land use transportation planning opportunity that would meet the tribe's next steps, identifying specific area planning for both their north and south parcels. This would include the implementation of specific measures and the incorporation of transportation efficient land use planning for housing, employment, and government services. The creation of this I believe it's Kilkik Area Master Plan would also support the tribe's strategic master planning process and provide direction for expansion of housing opportunities and our community's need for future governmental planning provisions. This plan would align well with the desire to create a sustainable economic environment where local businesses can develop and thrive and community partnerships increase. We encourage your favorable consideration of this application and appreciate the opportunity to support the Coquille Indian Tribe in our local communities. And so it goes back to you, Madam Mayor, and the council. If the council wants to authorize a letter of support, we can edit, put this on letterhead and get it signed and get it back to the tribe tomorrow morning.
So we would be looking for a motion to approve the mayor to sign a letter of support for transportation growth management. Is that how to phrase that?
Yes, for their
Okay.
program grant.
To allow the mayor to sign a letter in support of the Coquille Tribes efforts to get ODOT money.
Transportation growth management grants. Sign a letter of support for the transportation.
I move to instruct the mayor to sign a letter of support for the Coquille Indian Tribe in support of the ODOT transportation and
Growth management program.
growth management grants.
Second.
Okay. All right, any discussion? Oh, I heard a first from Counselor Nordoff, a second from Counselor Garboden. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of allowing the mayor to sign a letter of support for the Coquille Indian Tribe for the Transportation Growth Management Grant, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that was our other business. And so, all right, meeting adjourned.
Wow.
We did